I am going to hope that our friends that are trying to get into our waiting room are going to be able to join. So I just want to thank everybody so much for making it to take this time for yourself tonight. I was actually really looking forward to kind of holding a space, making this container where we can kind of just breathe. You know, this time of year, like it can be really, really crazy. We're coming upon a huge shift, a big full moon coming, a winter solstice coming. And not only the winter solstice, you guys may have even heard with the Mayan calendar and everything, there's a lot of talk about this, it was supposed to be 2012, December 21st. And now it's looking more to be, they've gone, oh, well, I think it was actually December 21st, 2021. That was it. So now we're kind of awaiting this big Mayan calendar shift as well, where it's supposed to kind of be the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. And some of the things that keep coming into my field are these, these amazing people like we have all of us here tonight that are, we're noticing something. Oh, Kim said she can't hear me. Am I, Jesse, can you hear me okay? I'm good? Okay. I don't know, Kim, maybe it's kind of goofy. Okay, yeah, for sure. Feel free to, I'll pop you back in after. So some of the things that we notice are patterns, 7-year trends. I don't know. In the beginning, Audra, I'm not. Are you? I'll just ask you really quick while we wait for Kim to hop back on. Are you a coach? Are you a on one of my groups? How did we come to have you
I'm
here
a
tonight?
counselor.
Awesome, awesome. So that's exactly why you're here tonight. Then this is great. I love it. I love it. Welcome. So have you done any kind of recode or anything like that before that is with this sort of like this magnetic mind work that we do? Have you experienced it yet?
Intuitive,
Excellent.
yeah,
Excellent.
that type of stuff.
Perfect. So that's perfect, because that's kind of the reason that I wanted to just check in with you, make sure you're sort of on the same page as the other ladies that I know here. And it's exactly the same thing. We're kind of intuitive, and this is it. These 7 years, what will happen is that first 7 years that we're born, we kind of set up these very permanent structures that we have for ourselves. And this gets constructed by all of the things that we go through. There's even studies with epigenetics are showing that it is about 7 years or 7 generations behind us even of stuff that we tend to kind of carry around. Welcome, Giovanna. I'm glad you got in there. Thank you. Thanks for your patience. Zoom has got a bit of a mind of its own tonight. So I'm just kind of unpacking what this whole 7-year itch looks like. And I know a lot of times we've heard, after 7 years or so in a relationship, people will want to change, or they realize that this structure isn't really working for them anymore. And what happens is over about 7 years, we can build a very strong structure. It takes about that long to really have things solidified, where we're really repeating patterns, where we're really, flexing muscles. So say, we learned from 0 to 7 that if you just, use this right bicep all the time, things will sort of go your way. You're going to just use that bicep all the time, and it's going to be this huge bicep, but everything else around it may not be functional at all, just because that bicep worked so hard. So this is kind of what a structure is like, right? We have built on, how we get attention, how we get love, how we get seen, how we feel like we belong. We've made all this up in just the first 7 years that we're born. After that, we have these other, these next 7-year spreads. So we're going through, to a teenager, think of 14, 15 and how enlightened you feel you are at 14, 15. You're coming into your own, you're this sort of this adult now. And then we get this next one at 21, right? Like this huge, it's even the age of being able to drink and things like this, right? Like it's this huge, this says you're something else at 21. And then when you look around 49, 50, there's a lot of times where they called it a midlife crisis. But what I feel is happening at this point is that we've actually gotten to where we've been in this structure for about 7 years, and we've realized, okay, we have, only so many 7-year stints left here. I don't want to spend the next 7 years like the last 7 years, because I was not getting where I was going. And we'll feel that, we'll feel that resistance, we'll feel that uncomfortableness, we'll be irritable, we'll be, things will be off because we're not honoring what our insides are telling us. And so all of this, day planning, all of this life coaching, all of this, even with counseling, with mental health, it's all really about sort of having people look at the structure that they're in. And so no matter what they do, if they're in that same structure, they're just going to kind of keep repeating, flexing that right bicep. And so that right bicep is plenty strong. We need to sort of look at how we can balance those other muscles out so that that arm can actually do things like anything aside from a bicep curl, because it's just not going to be able to. So when it tries to do anything like a tricep exercise, it's just going to think that it's going to die. And this is sort of what happens in our personalities, in our conscious mind, in our unconscious and our conscious mind fighting. And then this whole collective consciousness, we're probably all uber aware that, hey, Kim, welcome back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, that
Yeah,
was
okay.
really wonky.
Good. I don't know. I don't know if it's the field or what lately, but things, when I've been on a big call, sometimes it'll just end all of a sudden, or just like weird things. Even if I'm just attending a coach, it's really, really interesting. There's something up. Yeah. So I was just kind of talking about our 7 years, the 7-year, as we have learned in the coaching that we do, it's sort of that first 7 years that's really, really imperative, that has really built up these structures. But what I was commenting on is those next 7 years, when you get to 14 and things are like, you're really enlightened at that point. You think, you have entered a new scope of conscious mind, being conscious, or perhaps being very unconscious and letting that but those structures are set in. And then I sort of went up, 21, then you can drink, you can all of a sudden have all of these, inhibitions, and they don't know how to control it, but we're old enough all of a sudden, right? So we're just placed in these sort of 7-year chunks. And that's, you see a lot of times people get sick of things, or it just won't work for them anymore. And then I got to where we're 49 and we have this sort of what people say midlife crisis, but it's really just, we're at the point where the structure that we have sort of built is maybe not necessarily working for us. And at this point, I feel like there's just this kind of global shift of people that are all kind of feeling the same thing, all very connected. They understand there's more than just, what we're doing, what we're saying. And I even noticed on my own website, I was like, the universe was always trying to slow me down and the universe was never trying to slow me down. It was my inside, my super conscious, my unconscious, my everything was telling me to slow the heck down. Instead, I totaled 5 vehicles in a matter of 7 years. It took me to the point where I had to spend thousands of dollars on insurance for my car just to be able to go somewhere. And it was like, there was such resistance with stopping. I thought, the way that I was always trained is if you weren't going a million miles an hour, you weren't sort of worth anything. And there was all these limiting beliefs. And it was just leading me to this structure where I kept crashing cars. And it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And the fact is I didn't want to crash cars so bad. That's all I was focusing on. And I was so focused on so many things that it was keeping me stuck. And I didn't realize that either. So I had like this super oscillating pattern where I'd be like, oh, I learned my lesson, I'm going to slow down. And then there I am again, leaving myself too late, having too much on my plate, demanding too much of myself, not sleeping enough, doing it consistently, and knowing, because I'm coaching everybody else on exactly what to do to not do that to yourself, and still turning around and making that choice to not care for myself. And so part of my passion in holding space for any webinar I do, for any coaching call I do, I really want to give people a chance to just come into my room and breathe, and take a moment to actually be able to listen to ourselves. Because listening to ourselves, like we think we don't know the answers, right? And we're just like, oh, what am I going to do? I need to call a psychic, or I need to da, 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 da. It's right here, and it's free, and it's like just waiting to be tapped into. And when we don't, that's when we're going to end up kind of feeling or working against the grain, right? So this is exactly it, Audra. It's all about, and all of the mindset work is all about creating. It's about not focusing on any problem, not focusing whether you really want something or really don't want something. It's about, now what, no matter what happens, now what can we do? No matter what happens, how do I want to feel? Having that control over yourself, where you're not letting your mind just take over and being unconscious, and then when it gets uncomfortable, avoiding it by doing something like binging Netflix, or enrolling in another course even, or diving right into something where we're still avoiding. We're still not listening to ourselves. It may be a good thing, it may be taking us somewhere, but is that where we want to go, right? And so always kind of aligning up with where you really want to go, and making sure that your actions are actually taking you there, because our actions just tend to keep us either spinning our tires in the mud, or actually being able to move forward. And when I literally realized that it was honestly as simple as stopping and listening to yourself, it was like, wow, this is really fun. And now I do this all day, every day, right? Like, it's just getting people to be able to listen to themselves just makes me happier than anything. And it also allows me to take time for myself too, because I finally stop and breathe when I'm talking to people. It's like, we're here. This is amazing. Let's just, do some creation. Let's get out of that, that negative mindset, but it's not always that easy, right? So I have a few little tools that I use. Different things. The sun is the main thing that I use, also free, right? Sun gazing and stargazing can be so powerful. And a lot of people don't embrace that power of the sun, where in the morning, so a half hour after sunset, or sunrise, sorry, or in the evening, a half an hour before the sunset, that is when the rays are basically the most beneficial to us. And it's most beneficial to us entering our eyes. So it's not so much through a window or in the car, feeling that sun through the glass. It's not the same as actually going outside and allowing that sunlight to actually enter your eyes. So you literally just glance at the sun for very few seconds and glance away. It's not a stare, and you would never do this midday. You would never do this even an hour before or after kind of thing. You would do this only sort of within that half hour time range. But there's actually like scientific proof of going out, especially if you can go out barefoot. I mean, I'm in the tundra right now. It's minus 30 here right now. Not going out barefoot for even a moment. However, in the summer, I live to be in my garden and just have my feet in the ground, walking on the grass. I mean, we used to walk on the grass and the pebbles, and that would sort of break up toxins in our body, right? We're all in these rubber soles now. We're never with our feet in the mud or with our feet in the water as much as we need to. So, I mean, water is the best grounding thing by all means. If you have access to a beach or anything like that, grounding can certainly be done with a warm or cold shower. A lot of people use like ice baths, and yay, Jesse, do some gardening for me. Just go like pull some weeds and like kiss a tomato plant, because I miss my plants so much. I just love my garden. I like gardening is the one thing that makes me really happy. That's when we're going to kind of go into a happy space, and into a feeling you want to feel instead of a feeling that we don't want to feel. And I go into gardening. I did like I was able to be brought up by Chris as he's our mentor, Giovanna and Audra, and who taught us a lot of the method that we do. And he brought me on, and one of the things he was like, okay, what just makes you happy? And I was like, just gardening, like just being in my garden. And he's like, okay, I'm with you right now. We're gardening. So, we're sitting there, we're gardening. And I just I laugh my head off thinking of him sitting beside me, pulling weeds in my tomato plants with this little Kiwi accent there. And I just laugh every time now that I use that as a bit of an anchor to kind of bring in that really great feeling of just being in the garden. I saw this one gentleman made a bed, Giovanna, that you could lie on, and it just had holes that you could stick your arms through, so you could just kind of, and wheels, so you could pull yourself along and just lie down and weed all at the same time. But I actually have this little granny chair that I sit in my garden, and it just goes along the rows, and I just use that. It actually is, you got to be able to get out there somehow. And you know, you look at the flowers and you look at the garden, and I use my garden as a bit of a representation of where I'm at. And you know, you kind of look at how your garden is going that year, right? So we're going to do that in a bit of a meditation. I really like this this container that we're building here. You guys are just awesome. So when we are building our structure, it is the one thing that's going to allow us to move forward or not, right? And so we always kind of look at you know, we actually look at the structure itself. So for example, we have the three kinds, right? We have the stuck, we have the oscillating, and we have the flowing. So it's just a matter of kind of looking at the kind of structure that you're in. How does it feel right now? Does it feel kind of stuck? Does it feel like you aren't moving at all? Does it feel like you move sometimes and then just kind of fall back? Or does it feel like you really don't have any resistance? You're able to just kind of get what you want, you know? And a lot of the times that we end up having these big shifts, we feel like we're maybe losing control. Sometimes the structure has to almost be broken down before we build it up again. I feel like in this process of grounding, what we're doing is maintaining our structure and allowing it to sort of just gently shift. We're not tearing anything down. We're not, you know, completely rearranging things. What we're doing is we're kind of adding some boards that are going to make it a little bit more, you know, maybe it was just that one step that we had to build to just kind of change the structure a little bit. Maybe it's just, you know, something that you could just use on a daily basis, like a little mental tool. So I'm going to just give you guys a few things that are really amazing. Now, the grounding with the sun, super huge. You can always Google sun gazing and stargazing, because stargazing and moon gazing are kind of the same thing. You actually get that energy from the sun, right? And stones, you know, rocks, things like essential oils and plants, now that we're talking about gardening, those have a frequency, right? They all have this frequency that matches the earth's frequency, which is why they ground us. So certain stones are really good for grounding, and those are the ones that match that earth's frequency. So the minute that you touch them, it's like you feel it, or you're drawn to them. And the way to pick out a crystal or a stone is to be able to, you know, if you just see them sometime and you're just really drawn to it, just get it, because there's something with your frequency that's probably matching that stone. And so that's kind of how you're supposed to get them. You're either supposed to be gifted them, or you're supposed to be gifted them from the universe, and that you see them and that you are drawn to them and that you find a way to acquire it, right? So stones are really amazing. And essential oils. Now, essential oils all have different frequencies too, and a lot of them are made from the root plants. So when you look at something like cedar wood, like a big cedar tree, or arbor vitae, or vetiver, which is a root plant, they have these beautiful frequencies that will literally ground you. So spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally, it's all sort of resonating on this frequency of the earth. So it's really amazing what an oil can do. I'm going to show you guys what I do with my frankincense, for example. So frankincense is like the king of oils. You know, you hear about it all the time. I have literally, I've had people that, I've been a massage therapist for 25 years too. So I would have people that would have like major detoxes after a massage, like they'd get up and they'd kind of break into a sweat because everything's trying to leave so quickly. What I would do is I would take a drop of peppermint and I would put it in there, or a peppermint, frankincense. I'd put it in their hands just like this. And I take my thumb and I dip it in the oil, and then I place it on the roof of my mouth, just like this. And you hold it there for like 30 seconds. And as you're doing that, the frankincense is just getting into your mucous membranes. It's just lighting up your brain. It's actually, frankincense can pass that blood-brain barrier. So it's one of the things that's actually recommended for things like cancers and Alzheimer's and issues with memory, issues with brain fog. This will wake me up. If I use this and a little bit of peppermint, that's why I have peppermint on my brain. I use the peppermint while I'm driving and do the same thing, just putting a drop on the roof of your mouth. And it's just like, it just feels like your brain wakes up. It feels so good. And it's one of the best oils to connect with source, to connect with, if I'm having, just a kind of day, I will use my frankincense a lot. And I've even seen it stop tremors in people. Like if they're shaky, they're really shaky, using frankincense internally or topically, even on the bottom of the feet, it ends up being amazing. And cypress it's actually an amazing one for circulation. I use cypress actually for bladder support for people, like if they have, say, UTIs or anything like that, or even circulation issues. But it's amazing for anxiety, and it actually really calms your sympathetic nervous system. So you can work with both nervous systems by using the oils. Like we have this one in doTERRA called Balance, and it has hoe wood and sandalwood. It has chamomile, blue tansy. It has all these like, and spruce. Spruce is like one of the bigger medicines that Native Americans used, Canadian Aboriginals were using as medicine, basically just the spruce oil itself. Even if someone has just been vaccinated, the Siberian fir and the spruce oils are the ones you're supposed to put on the feet to sort of help detox and regulate things after. Like it's amazing stuff. It's amazing. I even have recipes for, like, you name the medication, I can give you a recipe for oils. It's really cool. I'm glad. It's obviously essential oils are meant to come into your field, because it is nature's medicine. And there's nothing I use more. Like my kids and I, like, knock on wood, we never go to the hospital for anything. Like ear infection, I use a little lavender and tea tree, like I could go on like crazy. I get off onto tangents, but for grounding, there's almost nothing better than using a scent. If you think about it, that olfactory nerve is connected right to the pineal gland, right into the brain. It's going to get all of the chemicals in the brain flowing immediately. So what I'll do is I'll anchor a session in with an oil, or I'll start a session with an oil. So at the beginning, I'll be, if they have frankincense, I'm like, just grab some, just have a nice, just kind of, now that it's in your hand, just inhale it, rub a little bit right here. And if you're ever going to use an oil, as far as grounding, opening up your vagus nerve, balancing, you're going to want to apply it right here. So right here under the ear, we have just this little soft dip behind. You got your big SCM, your big muscle right here. It's literally just behind there. Yes, frankincense would be amazing for you, Jessie. Definitely. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah, you would want to literally put it right here, right? This is where the vagus nerve is. So that's what, when we yawn, it opens up. That's why when we're getting into the field, we yawn. It's opening our vagus nerve. It's allowing all of those neural pathways to open up, right? That's what I get the tingle just touching my vagus nerve and using my frankincense right now. It's like you can just feel it, you can just feel that connection start to happen. You could just feel your frequency change just by having that in there. So I do use oils a lot. I even have frankincense resin that I just put on a charcoal and it just burns, or I throw a chunk of resin in my water, just drink it all the time. It's kind of neat. It's an amazing oil. But cedarwood is one that, if you are a person that has kind of like a chronic stress sort of a state where your body has been in chronic stress for a really long time, or you have, trauma and you need to kind of move through that, it is a really good one. It's a heavy hitter. Cedarwood is absolutely amazing for stuff like that. So if you see those scents around, even if it's in a candle or something, get it. Internally, I only use the doTERRA oils just because they're the only ones I've used for about the last 10 years. And I check the studies out like crazy, and I can see what's in each bottle. I don't have any other companies that have the transparency that they do, but there are some other good ones out there too. So if you ever have questions, I can answer them about all the oils. I've been an aromatherapist for 15 years, so I have no problem answering any of that stuff. But the other things, I'll get off my essential oil tangent because it's just so fun. A couple of the other things that I really do like to do are some exercises with the vagus nerve. So one of the things that you can do to unwind the vagus nerve or open it up are actually just simply humming. So it's a very, very simple thing. It's literally finding that pitch, finding that vibration where you can feel it start to kind of rattle inside. So it's like if you were doing it, I always do it, so I have no problem humming on here. So you basically you just kind of go until you can feel it kind of rattle inside your head. And this is why they chant. They get that that when you go you guys will feel it if you're practicing and humming at home, or even if you're all muted, you can just kind of go and as you go you can feel it start to rattle in your head. It just like that slight vibration, and it trickles down and it opens up that vagus nerve. So if it's a little bit higher, if it's a little bit lower, you go to that tone until you feel that vibration happen, and that's when your vagus nerve is going to open up. It's so easy. Or give a yawn a try, because that does kind of open that up right away. And that is just huge when you can't think straight, when you lose your keys, when you were walking around in circles, and you know it may be your ADD your ADHD, but a lot of times it's literally just a blocked vagus nerve that just kind of gets constricted every time we're stressed. This is, our stress muscles are all in here, so it does get constricted when we clench our jaw. And so that's the other thing that you can do is releasing your jaw. And when we hum and when we open up our jaw, it also opens up our pelvis. So it's like this direct connection between head, heart, and hips. And just by humming, you can get everything flowing. It is so cool. Or grounding, like grounding in any way. Ideally, getting outside, this kind of thing is just really the most amazing thing. So what I want to do is give you guys a little bit of an anchor. Now, I know a lot of you guys, especially with being counseling and things like that, you probably know all about anchoring, but essentially what anchoring is, absolutely. I'm so glad you guys are open to listening to my brain dump here. This is wonderful. So when we talk about trying to kind of create a feeling that we want, we can all think of feelings that we really don't want to have, and feelings that we've been through that we really don't enjoy. And what I want us to do is kind of think of a contrasting feeling. If we're triggered about something, if we're, say, there's just something that really feels disempowering to us, or really something that we notice that just kind of maybe takes our power away from us, makes us feel like we can't take control over it, like make us feel like we're kind of losing it, that we just may not have that grasp on reality, that moment when you're just like, this is too much, like I just can't, like you feel it, right? And there's so many heaviness, heavy things that happen over these next few weeks. There's so many anniversaries of things, so many people that are missing from people's lives right now, so much loss in the last year, so much change for everyone. This was supposed to be a different Christmas, and it's not. And it's been hard for people to take. It's been just hard on so many levels, right? So what I want to do is I want to take that and just kind of put it in a garbage bag. We're just going to kind of put all that there, and we're going to pick a feeling that we would rather have instead. And so if we were to think, instead of feeling whatever it is, instead of feeling like we're just not strong or lacking in anything, I just keep on feeling like, I don't know, unshakable, like this. What would a feeling be that would give you that power? Is there a word or something that comes to unshakable, just powerful? These words are just kind of flashing in my mind, but happy. I just want to feel happy, I just want to feel. And so I want you guys to just think in your heads of a feeling that you would just, if you could just pluck it out like a star, or wave your magic wand and have that feeling show up instead. I would like you to just think of that feeling right now that you would just prefer to have. Maybe it's just the feeling of being strong, of having that control, having that. It doesn't have to be anything in specific. It's what's coming up for you when you actually kind of sit and listen. And if you're not sure of what you want that feeling to be, what I'm going to do is just take you on a little bit of a meditation. And we're just gonna, I don't know where we're gonna go. We just go places when we close our eyes. I'm just gonna go into just like a little guided meditation that's just going to allow us to listen to ourselves and to be able to implant this new feeling. And so what I do with my generally with my clients is we use an oil, something like that. But what we're going to do is we're going to use an anchor. So for some of you that know what anchoring is, basically when we get that good feeling, when we just feel it, when we feel it so strong inside, when you're like, oh, maybe when you met your first puppy, like the best puppy you ever had in your whole life, your best dog, and you got him and you found him, and you know that feeling, or you held someone's niece or nephew or grandbaby or your own, and you felt that absolute just whole unconditional love, or that moment where you were on the edge of a mountaintop and you were just looking around and you were so amazed by everything that was just so breathtaking. You almost couldn't believe that you were sharing space with these, this beauty. I want you to just kind of go to those places when we're in our meditation. I'm asking you to just envision that sort of that really happy feeling, that really safe feeling. I want you to kind of go to this happy moment that you're thinking about right now. And it can be 5 happy moments. It doesn't have to be one. What's important is the feeling. We want to get into a feeling where we are feeling that feeling. Maybe it was motivated. Maybe it was powerful when you first, entered your university, or maybe you were graduating, or maybe you were, a moment where you felt so powerful. So whatever this feeling is that you really want to try and anchor into your body, almost like a point, that what we're going to do when we get to that point, we're going to touch an anchor. So it can be a knuckle. So it can just be literally just touching your knuckle. Some people choose to ring a finger. I have a guy that just holds his thumb or holds his first finger. We can put our hand around our wrist. You don't want it to be something super obvious where you're like, having to distract yourself to get it. Some people do tapping. This is how they anchor things in, where you're tapping and you're saying these affirmations to yourself. But this is going to be just a slight touch. And what we're going to do is during the meditation, we're going to go into that good feeling a few times. And every time I ask you to go into it, we're going to touch the anchor. And now by doing something 3 times, all we're doing is basically setting up this chemical pathway, this neural pathway, so all these good chemicals can actually flow to this GPS point, right, Kim, that we're putting into our brains. We're dialing in all those instructions right now. We're taking out all the construction. We're putting it in there so that our brain knows exactly where to go when we're going to touch this spot, when we're going to feel it. We're giving it instructions right now. We give our brains, we give our conscious field such silent instructions every single day. We are such powerful creators in these instructions we give ourselves every day. Why not? Yes, that's it. So Josie says, standing on soft grass in rain, in warm temperature, beautiful. Agnapithas, that's what it is. Yes. Yeah. And just feeling it, right? Like smelling them, feeling the grass under your feet. We're going to go into those moments. And if you can, just like, basically you don't really have to work as hard as I'm making it out to sound here, but all you're going to do is just touch that spot when we get to this really good feeling. So we're only going to be in there, 10-15 minutes. We're just going to do like a little gentle process where we kind of go in and just dial this in. If you end up having a drink 3 times, by the 3rd time you've had that drink, your body's already chemically sort of expecting it. If you have tea at 4 o'clock every day with your best friend, by the 3rd day, your body is chemically expecting it and already producing these chemicals to allow you to enjoy that process as fully as possible. So we're just setting up our chemicals. We're setting up our super conscious, our conscious minds, our unconscious minds together, and giving them just a place to go to that happy feeling, direct connection, no stops. It's like the really quick transit that you'd probably have in your town, just right there. None of these stops around the small towns. We're just going for it. And so that's all we're going to do. So if you guys are up for it, I invite you to just play in the field with me, and in your mind, just allow me to just kind of connect with you to be able to work together. It's this isn't hypnosis at all. It's basically just allowing us to look in this container that we've sort of placed here, and allow us to look at the structure of things and literally just line them up where we want them to go. And it's all really really safe and peaceful. We're not doing anything scary, going anywhere that that conscious mind doesn't want to go. If anything comes up, it's just because it needs to sort of be touched on. This is your chance for you to listen to your inner self and literally just play in the sandbox with yourself. Just, what is my true feelings? What is my actual body? What is my soul trying to talk to me and tell me right now? I'm listening, and you give it that cue, and those answers are right there, just like in Moana or any of those princess movies. There, it's the answers are always inside. We just literally have to slow down and listen. So I feel connected with you guys already. So don't mind me. I'm just going to close my eyes and just connect with you guys. This is awesome. So I am just going to, I'm just going to basically ask that all of our, our part personalities that we have, these protector controllers, these maternal Mother Teresa's, these personas that we have, all of these parts that kind of help to keep us safe and protected. We're going to get all of these parts on board today together, really working in our monopersonality, really bringing all of our collective thoughts together to really just listen and line up the perfect treatment plan to create the absolute least amount of pain and the most amount of satisfaction in our lives, just cutting out all the wasting of time and really allowing ourselves to focus on what we want to create, the feelings that we want to create, and the feelings that we want to have on a daily basis. And I'm going to ask you to go to a place right now. We're going to take a nice deep breath. We're just going to envision walking into the most beautiful forest. And I'd like you guys to just close your eyes and just envision walking into this beautiful forest right now. Relaxing your shoulders and relaxing your eyes and relaxing your eyebrows, just allowing them to feel heavy. And as you're walking into that forest, it's almost like you can feel the energy of the trees, and you can feel, there's even a sunbeam that kind of comes down through the trees, and it's like it's touching your skin, and you can feel that warmth of the sun that just, it's like kissing your skin. And right now, I'd like you to just imagine, if you can, having this beautiful sunbeam following you around as you just kind of walk slowly. And as you're walking slowly through this forest, I want you to feel the sun. I want you to hear what it's like in the forest right now. Do you feel your feet crunching on something on the ground, or is it like soft moss? And what does that sound like? And what does it feel like? Do you have bare feet, or are you wearing shoes? In fact, what are you wearing, and what do you look like right now? I want you to imagine one of the happiest moments of your life right now. I want you to go into a feeling where you felt so happy and so excited. You could feel it in every cell, like every cell was vibrating. And I want you to remember that feeling. And we're going to pretend that we're tuning a radio right now, a radio show that was sort of broadcasting that happiest moment of your life. And I want you to think about an anchor that you're going to use, whether it's touching a knuckle, touching your wrist. And I want you to turn that dial up. I want you to turn that radio dial up just a notch or two. Hear that laughter, hear the giggles, feel what was around you. Feel it like it was literally the best moment in your whole life. If nothing else, this was the best moment ever. And if you can't think of one, I want you to even just make one up. Just like go to a super happy place. I remember just looking outside one day at my horses and just being so grateful for having them. Maybe it was an animal that made you feel this way. I feel like you guys are all animal people. And I want you to just feel that feeling. We're going to turn it up another notch or two. It's not big enough. It's not happy enough. It's like so happy. And I want you to touch your anchor right now. And as you're touching it, we're going to turn it up just one more notch. We're just going to hold that anchor. And I want you to just feel what it feels like to be that happy right now. I want you to just smile, thinking about how happy you were. Just go to that really happy place. It can be anything, it can be walking on a beach, just happy and content and safe. I just want you to feel that right now. That's awesome. You can release that anchor. And I want you to just take one more nice deep breath for me. When you take a nice deep breath, I want you to almost picture that you're sort of filling up your belly like a base, like a big beach ball. And when you're exhaling, I want you to pretend you're almost blowing out a balloon where you're taking extra pushes, like we're going to let all that stale air just be released from our body, released from our diaphragm. And I'm just going to ask that all of our energy centers just be aligned with the Earth's frequency, with opening and grounding. And I want you to just relax your shoulders and just listen to the gentle commands. We're just going to create literally the perfect treatment plan moving forward with feeling aligned to being happy, feeling aligned to being balanced and grounded. I'd like to do a massive change history on all of these feelings. And I would just like to have you focus back for a moment on what that forest would feel like again. We're going to go back in there and we're going to smell those spruce trees. Maybe we're even going to touch a tree. Maybe there's some certain trees that are calling to our attention. And I want you to look around a little bit at some of this forest because some of it's going to look kind of familiar. Some of it is actually going to be seeds that you have planted before. And right now, I'd like you to just kind of go walking towards that garden. You may recognize it, you may not, but I think you're going to know it's a garden that you planted. It's just this little sacred space. It's very peaceful. You can feel someone has a labyrinth in there. It's like a Zen garden. And I just want you to notice all of the flowers that are around there, noticing that they're all completely unique and different, and that you accept all of them and love them all equally. And I want you to notice what some of those seeds are that you might have planted before. Some of those seeds that kind of made you happy. Some of those seeds that you maybe enjoyed. Maybe it was painting or music, or maybe you just haven't sang for a long time. Maybe it was teaching. And I want you to just have a look at some of those seeds that you've planted and just notice if they're growing into little plants, if they're growing into trees, if they're still seedlings. Maybe they didn't really grow, but seeds grow generally as long as they have the right conditions. And I want you to just take notice of some of those little things that are asking for a little water, asking for a little food, just asking for what they need, just knowing that that'll end up creating so much more enjoyment, so much more balance in your life. And we're just going to create a perfect treatment plan around any of these things that may be stopping some of that happiness, and just allowing and doing a massive change history on that. And I want you to notice again some of those really cool little plants that you had planted. And I want you to notice how some of them are actually doing really, really well. These are the ones that you had been focusing on a little bit more. They are growing really well. But are those the plants and the trees that you really want to be growing like this? And I just want you to notice for a minute. What is it that we do need to be focusing on? To really create a life that you truly love. To create a life where you can really be happy. And to create a life where you can feel fully grounded and balanced, or at least be able to take that time, just a few minutes a day. What can you do? We're going to create a perfect treatment plan for just moving forward into finding all of these little pieces that will just end up helping our plants to grow in the right way. And then taking that action to make that happen, just making it easier and easier, removing any resistance towards that happening. And we're going to do a massive change history on all that. And we're going to go back again into our forest, and we're just going to go for a walk again. We're going to just leave that garden. We're going to keep walking. And we're going to go down the path that we've sort of been looking at. There's two paths we have here. And there's this path that we're looking at, but it's a little narrow. And we have this huge bag that we've been carrying around. It's this big bag of generational stuff. It's a big bag of broken agreements. It's a big bag of expectations. It's a big bag of stuff that's not ours. And I want you to just look at this bag, and I want you to feel how heavy it is. And I want you to feel how good it feels to actually just set it down. You're just going to set it down on this path right here. You might even put it on the path that has that really big bicep muscle, the one that's just been overworking. Maybe put that bag in front of that path so no one else has to go there and carry all that stuff, because you've got it in the bag. You're going to leave it here. Anyone that needs any of that wisdom that can use it will pick it up. But none of it's going to leave you. None of the things that have created who you are, have created this persona. They're all just going to join together. And we're going to put this bag down right now. And we're going to go walking forward without it. Notice what color it is. Notice, is it like a glad bag with tied strings? Is it like a big old potato sack? Is it a bathtub? What is it? Just leave it there. Awesome. And we're going to slip down this little small path that's been waiting for us, almost like magic. I feel like it's like sparkles, dust. We're just this like mist that's just moving down this beautiful magic pathway. And as we get to the end, we get a little excited because we know that one of the most powerful moments that we've ever had, if it hasn't happened yet, it's waiting there for us. It's going to be a powerful moment where we really step into ourselves, where we really embrace our power, where we really just let all of those old beliefs go, make a perfect treatment plan around all those beliefs of I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or I don't belong. Those feelings of insignificance or not being deserving, not wanting to be seen. We're just going to leave all of those behind. We're going to do a massive change history on all that. And as we get to the end of that path, it's like you can almost hear the excitement, hear the buzz, hear the moment. It's like people have been waiting for you to sort of share what you've been wanting to share with them, what you've been wanting to teach them, how you've been wanting to help them not struggle, not carry it all. We're just going to do a massive change history on all that. And I'm just going to tag any of these old emotions, any of these old events that may have happened that might be keeping us from being able to create balance. We're just going to do a massive super recode on all of those things. And now at the end of our forest, we've come to this beautiful field. And this field is flowers. It's purple flowers. It's got this cozy little hammock that is just waiting for you. It may be more like a beanbag chair, like a pillow. I want you to picture this comfiest spot in the whole world that's just waiting for you to just literally envelop your body. And you're just going to go walking towards it, floating towards it. And you're just going to allow yourself to climb in. Almost like you're feeling a huge hug as you climb in. It's that warm blanket on a cold day with a fireplace kind of feeling, and just feeling so good. Climbing into a warm bed that was just made for you. And right now, we're going to go to a moment where we were so powerful, where we were so strong, where we were actually able to really take control of our emotions, and we pulled it out and we pulled it off. I want you to go to a moment like that right now. I know there's one in there where you felt strong, where you felt like, yeah, I got this. I did that. And we're going to go to our radio station and we're going to tune it up just a notch or two. And I want you to imagine that about times 100. if you felt proud, I want you to feel everyone around you feeling proud. I want you to feel every single person around you right now just loving on you, just saying they had faith in you this whole time. They were just waiting for you. Why didn't you see it? Just all of these people coming towards you. Maybe you wrote a book, maybe you just changed their lives and they're just letting you know right now that you just taking that time for them made all the difference in the world. And I want you to just feel how good that feels. Go to that most powerful spot and just turn it up. Just make it so you're like the most powerful superhero. You really are a superwoman. I want you to put that anchor on again right now, just touching it, just holding it while you allow that feeling to happen, that chemical cocktail. Just feel it. Relax your shoulders and just literally allow yourself to feel that power and that happiness. It's okay to feel that. We're supposed to. This is how we used to feel before we were 7. Go back there, even if you have to go back to that time when you were that powerful, when you could fly, when you could do anything. We're going to go there right now. And just place that anchor on. That's awesome. We're going to do a massive change history on all that. It's beautiful. And I'm just going to go one more time down the body, almost like a little scan. You're going to be lying in your purple flowers, in your little hammock, in your comfy little room. We're just going to allow that sun to just touch your whole body bit by bit. And as it starts at the top of your head, I'm just going to ask that the whole collective consciousness just clears and transmutes anything that's just floating around in any of these energy centers, in any of these organ systems, in any of these hormone systems that just need balancing and just need that energy to just flow. We're just going to move down from the crown chakra right into the third eye and through those inner ear chakras, allowing them to literally open, allowing you to hear all your intuitiveness and all your power and listen to your inside voice. And allowing that throat chakra to just be open and allowing you to speak your piece. Moving down into the heart chakra, just opening that right up. Allowing any of that light to sort of fill any of those spaces, any of those missing pieces that we have right now. Just allowing that sunlight to just touch on it and just balancing all of the cells out vibrationally, energetically, chemically, just on a cellular basis. And moving down the energy centers into the solar plexus, sacral chakra, root chakra, just allowing all those energy centers to just be opened in a safe way. We're just going to ground all of that back into the matrix of the universe, right down into Mother Earth. And as we're grounding, I want you to almost imagine right now that you have these roots growing out through your tailbone, growing out through your feet. And they're beautiful roots. They're part of the plants that you have planted, part of the seeds that you have put in. Planting into Mother Earth, feeling that unshakable groundedness when you're standing with your feet apart on the earth, feeling your feet on the ground, feeling that balance, feeling that unshakable strength. You may feel God's strength, the divine, just tapping in spiritually to the earth. feeling those roots just grounding you so solidly. And I want you to think right now about that feeling that you want to feel instead of yucky, instead of angry, instead of agitated, instead of triggered. What feeling do we want to feel? What emotion do we want to have? I want you to listen to that in your own head, in your own heart. Peace and comfort and security. And I want you to turn that up a notch. We're going to turn that up a little bit. We're going to make that feeling the biggest one we've had, the most intense feeling we've ever had, in such a good way. Just feeling it light us up, feeling it fill all the rest of our cells, feeling rooted down into Mother Earth. And I want you to touch your anchor one last time. And we're going to just compile all of those good feelings. We're going to bring in happiness. We're going to bring in power. We're going to bring in all of these superpowers, and we're going to just anchor them into that one spot right now. And I just want you to take a deep breath, or 2 or 3. Hold that anchor until you're finished your breaths. And when you're ready, you can let go of your anchor. And if you still had your eyes closed like me, you can open them up. I hate watching my replays because I'm like, it looks like such a goof. I'm like rocking my eyes, but it's funny. You don't care when you're doing this work. You just kind of, you go with it, and you just allow that muscle, sort of the movement is almost the muscle testing, where you kind of feel whether things are flowing or not. And I kind of ask if things are progressing just in the treatment. So thank you for letting me play with you guys in the field. I would love to, if you wanted to share with me, I'd love to just hear one of the feelings that you were able to feel when we were doing it. And if you were able to touch an anchor. Sometimes we get knocked out completely by the meditation. So, or if you don't want to share, that's absolutely fine. But I will ask you guys to, I'll unmute just in case, because I did have the mute on by accident. So I will, ask you guys to unmute, and you are welcome to do so, to share if you're up for it. I love hearing how it went for people, if you were able to feel or see anything. How about you, Jessie?
Totally knocked out.
Did you?
And I sort of did put the anchor on at one point, but I didn't know if that was the right place or anything.
That's okay.
Very deep, very strong thinking.
Oh, you're so welcome. I could feel it. It was really cool. And that's kind of the neat thing is with this, you've had a chance to probably do some anchoring or, such before. So this is just, it's setting another one, setting a new one, putting things on top of. So your field will allow exactly what you need. And your anchor was probably pretty solid. So this allowed you, because I just really felt like having the meditation, but also being able to really kind of do a little bit of anchoring with the grounding, just to really give people a little tool over, like when sometimes even when it just gets too sad, or if you're really just missing someone, if you're really struggling with something, you can just kind of touch that place, and you can keep practicing touching that place if you didn't get to do it during the meditation, because that the instructions are still in there. And this actually takes a day or two to kind of settle in and sort of keep kind of coating up everything that sort of needs to be coated up. I noticed we lost Kim partway through there. Her Zoom was acting really goofy, so she messaged and said she wants the replays. I'll send that to her. And I do have this on replay, so you guys can, if you did pass out, you're welcome to. I have it on my essential oils group, so I'll have the replay on there shortly, so you can end up watching anytime. And it's also in my group coaching page as well. So one or the other, I'm sure you guys will have access to it. How about you, Samara? Were you able to stay awake with us through that one? Did you were in the field heavy. I felt that was good.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah.
Good.
I always have a little challenge between being like in the sun, sailing on the water, going to snorkel somewhere, and but the field of flowers was fabulous, and I ended up in like one of those hanging chairs where I
Cool.
was swinging.
Nice.
And I could feel the flowers with my hands. Was really wonderful. Excuse my cat, but
That's so beautiful. They love recodes. I'm surprised mine aren't in here. Usually they're all over me when I do this.
yeah, no, it was wonderful. Yeah.
Oh,
I also saw myself in a cork forest, which was interesting, which I had
isn't
never
that
done
cool?
before. So I don't know, maybe I'm meant to go to Portugal for a while.
Isn't that wild? Hey,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
may be something about those trees and the resonance of that's calling you. That's pretty cool. Portugal's amazing, I hear, like absolutely amazing.
I've never been. I've been to Spain, but I've never been there. So yeah,
It's
interesting.
one of those, my husband and I were actually going to go there on a honeymoon, and I let my resistance stop me back then. I couldn't, our part-time girl at work quit, and I, figured, oh, I can't go on holidays then. So I gave up my honeymoon, which we've never ever gone on, and he'll never forgive me.
Oh,
Should have gone to Portugal. I came with the tickets. I was like, look what I did. I booked her honeymoon. And this girl's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm quitting. I was like,
oh God. Boy, that sure dashes the heart and the hopes, doesn't it?
right. But that was my choice. Like, I was happy for her, but that was my choice. And that was, not a good structure to be in. And I so recognize that now. That's when I was crashing all my cars, like it was like, it wasn't the universe. It was ridiculous.
Yep.
And Audra or Giovanna, would you guys care to share at all if you were able to? This may have been your first time for a meditation like that. And we call that process a recode, where you're actually sort of recoding some of that resistance and allowing it to help you to kind of shift forward. And the more we do it, the easier it becomes, which is now, why I'm actually coaching people instead of crashing cars. It works fabulously. It's a great program. I've been reading a lot of Carl Jung's work lately. And he talks a lot about our creative structures and things like this, and we are so creative in the structures that we make. He literally uses that as a it's either something's kind of trying to tell you something, or you're crashing cars. Like, it can be great, it can really help you, but it can really work against you as well, right? So let's create where it's working for you instead of against you, and you realize that yes, every little choice that you make is very powerful. So I'm hoping that I probably either knocked both of you out, which often does happen. It's a beautiful thing, because our body will allow us to do this when it feels safe. When we put things in a container a certain way, it does allow this shift to happen. And the coolest thing about it is that if our conscious mind starts going too much, some of the unconscious will just kind of take things down a notch and just put you into that theta state. You're not fully asleep, but you're in a state where you're consciously able to make that, and unconsciously able to make that shift, and it just kind of allows everything to happen. And I never have a class where someone doesn't get knocked out, so I love it. And I'm just so happy that you guys made it here this evening to hang out with me and get some balance happening and get some good chemicals flowing. So use the anchor whenever you can. Practice with it even at one point tonight. It may not, it may not be fully in there because you guys were in a really good state. But just try it out on yourself tonight. Just kind of hit the anchor up a little bit. I forget to use it sometimes, even especially at times of struggle in that, it's kind of getting into that new habit. So think of it as your new bicep curl on your right arm. It's a good way to just kind of flex a new muscle, just change things up a little bit, get into those patterns and structures. Do you have any questions for me before I let you go? I'll shut off the recording here so that if you